If you're in the market to level a new character, you might have seen that the recommendation is to start with a lightning rod into lightning arrow build, into a lightning rod plus orb of storms, and there's something we can do to make it just a bit better. But first I'll have to explain how lightning rod works. Lightning rod is a bow skill that you fire an arrow into the air, it lands into the ground, and it does an AoE burst, small AoE. Then the arrow will remain there for a limited amount of time, it being 12 seconds by default. Now, if you use another lightning skill that has the effect that it will fire a chaining lightning beam, it can chain to the lightning rod in the ground and cause it to pulse that AoE again. And that could be done a maximum of 10 times, assuming it doesn't expire first. Now, the tech here is to use this unique, the Mist Whisper makeshift crossbow, which, if you have a look at it, it says attacks chain between 1 to 2 additional times. The one I have here attacks chain 2 additional times. At this point in time of making this video, you can get these with the 2 additional chains for 1 exalted or probably even less. And it's to use this crossbow with galvanic shards. Now you can get galvanic shards at level 14 with a level 5 uncut skill gem. Why we use galvanic shards instead of lightning arrow is for a few reasons. Firstly, its attack speed is 200% of base, so it shoots really, really quick. Secondly, it fires 6 fragments per shot, and when one of those fragments hits a target, it will then shoot a lightning beam, which chains to 1 additional target. But with the Mist Whisper crossbow, which allows attacks to chain 2 additional times, that means that each beam can chain to potentially 3 targets. And if there's 6 fragments, that's potentially per shot 18 chaining beams at 200% attack speed. So it's a whole lot more chains than you can get with lightning arrow or orb of storms on its own. With this being said, because we only use galvanic shards to trigger lightning rod, we can keep galvanic shards at level 5 and we don't need to level it up. And also why we won't need another crossbow, because the damage of galvanic shards doesn't actually matter for the damage that we do, because the majority of the damage is coming from the lightning rod pulses. The gem setup we want to use, firstly, lightning rod, we want to use it with scatter shot, which is allows our lightning rod to fire 2 additional projectiles. So it's 3 down at a time. With martial tempo, skills have increased attack speed, so we have them down more often. A magnified effect, so those AoE pulses are larger and there is a greater chance of overlap because there is quite a large spread with scattershot. Next, I'd recommend using galvanic shards with nimble reload. That's because the crossbow reload speed is quite slow by default, and that's where you have the most downtime with galvanic shards. Followed by pin, so you can, each of the shots holds like whatever you're shooting at in place, so they don't run away or run off the lightning rods you put down, and lock down, just so that build up is a bit more effective. Just support skills, because as I said before, galvanic shards is not doing damage, it's just triggering the lightning rod, so we don't really need damaging support gems. The rest is sort of optional, but Herald of Thunder, just for a bit more damage. Ripwire Ballista is also support, just something you can pop down that can hold like fast running mobs in place. And now Orb of Storms with Chain. This is for, it can be a bit awkward if there are really fast running mobs and they get on top of you before you start having your lightning rods down and shooting them. So if you pop down an Orb of Storms and you start putting down lightning rods, it'll start triggering small amounts of them, and that can deal with a small amount of mobs. But for the majority of your damage, you want to use galvanic shards and lightning rod, and you can just chuck an orb of storms down whenever. Now there is another skill gem which I forgot what it's called. It's +1 to limit, but half the duration. I feel like it's not really necessary, but you can run it if you feel like it's worth it. Now other uniques you can use, and I won't go too deep into this because it's all recycled information at this point, but Wanderlust wrap sandals at level 11 because they give you that 20% move speed. And your Fox Shade Quilted Vest, because that gives you another 10% move speed while on full life, and more evasion as well, plus whatever other uniques you may have that are that are low level, you can use at level 1 and sub in. I'm sure we should all have quite a few by now. Also, what else we'll need is a Widow's Hail. Now, it's not mandatory, but it is nice to have because it's one less thing you would have to upgrade to scale your damage. I got lucky and corrupted this Widow Hail myself, and got it to nearly 270% increased bonuses to your quiver. Now you don't need it at this level. You can just use any Widow's Hail. And with the Widow's Hail, it means that we won't have to get a bow every however many levels to scale our damage. The only item we'll have to upgrade regularly is the quiver. What you'd want to have is a constant stream of quivers throughout the levels, ideally aiming for flat damage, ideally flat fizz, plus maybe attack speed or bow damage, or plus the projectile skills is also helps. So that's really expensive. Something like this is quite nice. This is just a nothing special rare quiver, and this will work quite well. It's got T3 flat fizz. Also, a really nice one to have is gains 2 to 3 flat life per enemy hit with attacks. With the Widow's Hail, as long as you're doing damage and you're not getting one shot, it really feels like you just have infinite regen, and that feels pretty big for survivability. Also, if you are going to buy your gear, at level 32 is a particular breakpoint for quivers where I feel they get quite strong. So something like this, for 5 exalts at level 32, you can get a quiver with 2 life per enemy hit with attacks, rank 5 flat fizz, and plus 2 levels of projectile skills. Who knows what the market's going to be when you have a look, but that is a particularly good breakpoint where you're able to get the plus 2 to the level of projectile skills at level 32. Now, I use this combo on my Pathfinder. I just got herder maps today with about 13 hours. I think I finished in 12 and a bit hours, but that wasn't speed running the whole time. I was still selling items. I was still crafting my own gear. And on this character in particular, I used this combo up until I got my 2nd ascendancy point, at which point then I swapped over to Bleeding Concoction. Now, you probably could use Lightning Rod plus Galvanic Shards all the way until maps, but there are points where it does feel a bit difficult to use. Not on bosses ever, unless there are a few that move really quick, like the witch in the bog, who I think it's the witch in the bog who is on a broom and she flies around quick. It's hard to hit her. Plus the one in the like when you're doing the Trial of Corruption, that flies around and throws daggers everywhere. Those 2 particular bosses, they move a lot, and it's hard to get them to stay on top of your lightning rods. All the other bosses feel pretty fine to do. Laying down a bed of lightning rods while having mobs attacking you, it does feel a bit scary and a bit difficult. At that point, it's normally best to reevaluate how much survivability is on your gear, and it might be time to go over everything a little bit. But hopefully by then, you're high enough level and you can pivot into whatever build you want to do, and you can just start clearing everything. If anyone else has any other leveling tricks, let me know in the comments below. I might even pin you, or I'll share them if I do another update next time. This has just been one that's helped me out a bit, and I see still in my comments that people are struggling a bit with the early game campaign. So hopefully this helps you enough, and good luck. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna try and do another updated build if this Bleeding Concoction one ends up working out well for me. So I guess I'll see you all next time.